How y'all living, man? I hope everybody's day is going amazing. As y'all see, it's snowing out here in the W, man. It's snowing, bruh. One thing about the snow, I was talking to my cousin and my partner T about this today, is I hate how wet and dirty it make, like the ground, it make your shoes, everything just nasty. When they start melting, it start being wet and icy, and look at my truck, man. It's all black and dusty on the side. But a fresh coating is kind of coming down right now. I don't know if y'all can see, but a fresh coating is always beautiful, literally. So I wanted to make this video in the snow. And days like when the sky is white, the ground is white, it just feel, I don't know, like I even be squinting because it's so bright. But anyway, yeah, man, I want to come talk to y'all. As you see the title of today's video, something that a phase of life I'm in right now, bro. So I'm gonna take y'all to the beginning, son. A lot of the times, a lot of us, we self-developing and stuff like that. In the beginning of self-development, you do this because a lot of the times you feel like there's a lot of potential in you that you need to pull out, or things in you, or things that you're not doing that you need to be doing, right? So with that being said, one of the biggest things is decision making. I noticed for myself, I kind of always been a contemplator of decisions and kind of been stuck on either this or that, and you know, having a form of confidence in the decision that I'm making. I feel like whenever I was very young, I had a lot of that, and I just, whatever I thought I wanted to do, I would do it. As I started being more conscious of things going around me, listening to people, seeing things happening, I kind of slowed down on just not thinking before I did stuff, and I think at some point I kind of did a little bit too much of that. So my point of starting to self-develop was the point I realized I needed to be able to make decisions, meaningful decisions for myself and for anybody else that I am responsible for. And I don't mean just in children, but like anything, group, being a leader, right? You know, I needed to sharpen those skills again, you feel me, as far as they relate to being an adult and making real decisions and running business and whatever the case like that. So I say that to say, man, as you start working on decision making, as I started working on decision making, one thing that's gonna happen to you is that you gonna feel like I can make a decision, and whatever happens from the decision I make, I'm cool with it. I'm willing to live with the consequences of any decision that I make, and I'm okay with it. And you start maneuvering like that for a long time, and that's really good when you're doing this thing by yourself and you trying to set a certain set of morals, principles, and guidelines you're trying to hold yourself to, and a standard for yourself. When you don't, not in a relationship, when you're not involving other people in your decisions, you dig what I'm saying, and not involving other people's opinions in your decisions, right? That comes with a trusted group of people, of course. But when you're not doing that and it's just you almost lone wolfing it, it's really easy to live by that, because it's like, man, I'm gonna make a decision, and whatever come with it, I'm cool with it. I'm willing to live and die on it. It is what it is. And you start being able to trust yourself more and realize I keep putting myself in positions where I didn't know how it would turn out, but I made it through it. And I made a decision, whether it was good, bad, ugly, anything in between. And I'm living. I'm still here today. So that means I can live with the consequences of any decision that I make fully. And you get, like I say, confidence and trust in yourself. So let me tell you the next phase of this. The next phase of this thing is whenever you start to, whether it be a relationship, or you start to go into business with other people, or you start deciding to take opinions of other people regardless of how they come. And a thing with that is, obviously at some point in time you're going to have differing opinions from people, right? And one thing I love about doing my business with my cousin and inevitably his partners is that they have kind of seen how we are, and they kind of are the same way. But we don't have no pride in our decision making. Although we may show pride to other people, it's like something about us as kids, like it just, that pride, it just erase itself whenever we talking, and it don't matter what's going on, we can hold each other accountable and keep it cheap, you dig? But that's not always like that, and especially in relationships. A relationship person, a lot of the times, is a stranger in the sense you may have known them, or even if it's somebody you knew for a while or went to school with, you don't know them in a relationship standpoint. So in a sense, that part of them is strange to you. So regardless, relationship, if they be familial, business, romantic, whatever the case, you're starting to learn how to, what's the word I'm looking for, coachable, or be, or consider others' opinions, right? And is big, because you're gonna get to a point where you're gonna want to make a decision that another person involved with you is not gonna want to make. You feel me? And it's hard because you've developed for so long at this point a sense of, if I make a decision, whatever comes with it, I'm running with it, man. It is what it is. You dig what I'm saying? And you get somebody who wants to do something that you really don't want to do, and it's like, bro, I don't want to do that. And for such a long period of time, you haven't done that it's hard to do those things, bro. That's working on yourself. That's doing decisions for business, that's going a certain way with the decision, with whatever you got going on, you understand? So that's something that's hard, but as you want to strive to be better, you start implementing things, you start realizing everything that you've learned you didn't know at certain points. So you start being open to other opinions and things like that, right? So then you start to take heed to things, you start doing things, you start doing things that are suggested to you, right? And then you get to this point where, like, bro, I done did so many of these things, you almost feel like not yourself, because you have moved on other opinions of other people for a while, that you start to kind of feel a lot like the person that you worked so hard to move on from. You feel me? And not in a bad way, but I worked hard to get to a point where I could trust myself with decisions. But now I'm at a point where I know I could trust myself with decisions, but I also know I have to consider other opinions in the decision that I make, right? Which inevitably leads to sort of second guessing to the decisions that you make, bro, literally. So you kind of go back to where you was, and it relate back to that first video I posted after like 2 months, like 2 days ago, right? When I said you get to a point where you start realizing that you don't want to change yourself so much that you forget who you are. And the point of that video for me was to remind myself that there was a version of me, and the point of the time I was on at the time of making that video is to remind myself that there was a version of me that was able to make decisions, and I felt really good about who I am. You understand? I didn't have to consider the opinions and viewpoints from other people. I could make a decision and be okay with what came with it. And and the reason why that was so big, because I don't want to ever get to a point in my life where I feel like I have changed 10 things for this to work or for that to work, and I don't know who Jaquan is anymore. You understand? And I didn't feel like I was getting there, but just thinking ahead of time, you start to think about things like that. And as you get older, you start thinking more in a future tense, and as you get close to the things you want to attain in life, and you feel them at your fingertips, you start being able to see the future more clearly. And if you're really unbiased about it, you can be honest, and you can decide whether or not you are doing things to make the desirable future happen or the less desirable future happen. You understand? And so you have to be honest with yourself and decide what kind of life you want. And something happened last night. I don't want to go into too much detail because it really doesn't matter, but it kind of is a full circle moment, and the understanding that I came to is what I'm in this video with. A situation happened where I had made a decision beforehand to run with something. So the decision was made. So the consequences of this decision began to present themselves, and before it was a final lock where the consequences would have to be physically, where I would have to suffer the consequences physically, before we ever got to that step, I had a conversation with a person that had initially told me the opposite of what I was doing, right? And I didn't take heed to it, And as the consequences drew closer and closer, and as that time gets nearer and nearer, the things that they said at first that it kind of fell upon deaf ears, with added consequences that they didn't even know were apparent whenever they had expressed their concern to me, as those things plus their opinions started reiterating itself, and they even reiterated themselves like, hey, I know this, but I remember telling you this, and I am kind of at this point about things right now. It's like a full circle moment, bro. I didn't have nothing to say. I didn't have anything to say. I literally was in 100% agreement that you absolutely right. And that was a moment where I kind of had to like bump my head on my own and see that I can trust the opinions of others. And I had to remind myself that it's okay to allow myself to run with solutions that I may not fully believe in at the helm of people that I love, trust, and care about. You understand? The people that have proved this repeatedly to me, and that was a full circle moment. So I say that to all of y'all to say that I think that life is a cycle of these things, from doing things to instill that trust in yourself, and then doing things to show yourself that you could trust other people. And it's about continuing to do these things all day long. And then you get to a point where you want to implement different exercises, in a sense, that sharpen both of those skill sets throughout your days, throughout your life, throughout your weeks, throughout your months, throughout your flow of life and business. You understand? And that's not always the easiest thing to do, but that's what life really be about. And that's why I say this thing really is just a huge cycle. You feel me? It's like ups, downs, and everything in between. It's like trading. It's like stocks. It's like crypto. You feel me? It goes up and comes down. It goes up and comes down. You feel me? And so I realized life is like about this long game. You feel me? It's not just, oh, I figured this out and that's it. Like, no, it's about literally continuing to show up every single day. You feel me? So yeah, man, I hope that makes sense to somebody, man. It's snowing. I wanna start shoveling because I don't like feeling outworked, and you can't see, but there's people over here that are snow blowing and that are shoveling. And if y'all doing it to y'all driveway, I'm not in my crib, but I'm at the work crib, one of them. We can't have ours not shoveled if y'all shovel. We can't have ours not snow blown if y'all snow blown, man. Who would we be? You feel me? But so that's what I got going, man. I'm probably finna lock in and do that, man. Hope y'all enjoyed the video. It looked beautiful out here. It reminds me of Christmas. You feel me? For real. But I got nothing more than that to say besides through him. You conquer it all through him. I promise you that thing had been already done.
I went through hell and back, and I came back a better me. Said this so many times, but I swear I finally see